How you doing? And welcome to Sportce Daily. Darrell, Reid alongside co-host Michael Artsis on this beautiful Monday morning, a day after Mother's Day. Call in. We want to hear from you. 732-347-1724. I almost forgot the phone number.
I think you did forget the phone number. I think it's 347-480-1724.
What did I say? A little off.
732 something something something.
I'm like giving out my phone number.
It's 347-480-1724. You can follow us on Twitter as well, sports_media. And we're talking about the Lakers and the Mavericks. The Mother's Day Massacre, that's what you're calling it.
We're talking about a lot. It was the Mother's Day Massacre. I mean, LA loses like this. Phil Jackson's last game as a head coach and possibly, as a Laker coach and possibly a head coach.
122-86. And the Lakers didn't even look like they showed up for the performance. The Mavs had these guys beat in sweeping fashion from the time the series started. The Lakers look like an old team. They look like a dynasty that was dying out. They looked rusty. I think it was surprising to me to see the Lakers fall this way. I think it might be surprising to you too.
I think it's surprising to a lot of people.
I think the Mavs...
Not that they lost, but the fact that they got swept and then how they lost that game last night.
And the Mavs really put on a good show and showed that they're a pretty good team.
Well, throughout the series, I mean, everybody knows the Mavs have had the offense over the past 5, 6, 7 years to play with the elite teams in the NBA, but they haven't had the defense. They haven't had the so-called toughness. And everybody, Dirk's getting tired of everybody saying he's a soft player and that he can't play with some of the top teams in the Western Conference.
The Mavs, I think, impressed a lot of people. They certainly impressed me. I'm happy because I wanted the Mavs to win.
Did you?
No, I thought that the Lakers would win.
In your heart, you wanted the Mavs.
I wanted the Mavs to win. I said that.
Because Mark Cuban's your boy.
Mark Cuban. But I think he's a great owner, and I think he's done wonderful things with this franchise that before Mark Cuban owned it, most people barely knew it existed. Nobody knew who the Dallas Mavericks were. And now Mark Cuban has come in and turned things around. I don't know if
nobody knew who they were.
Nobody cared.
No, nobody cared. I agree with you on that. Nobody cared who they were.
And he's
you remember the Dallas Mavericks' old uniforms?
Yes, they were green and blue and ugly.
Yeah, that green and blue.
And that's what I remember of Jason Kidd before he came to the New Jersey Nets.
Yep.
And now he's back with the Mavs with their nice uniforms, something you can root for, stand behind. I have a pair of Mavs shorts, by the way.
You do?
Yeah, the official shorts they wear on the court.
Did you get them from Mark Cuban himself?
No, I would have liked to, but I bought them at the NBA store a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's nice to know. Well, I just want to know your thoughts on the game. I mean, Kobe comes out. He only scored 17 points. It's obviously, they got swept, so it's a must-win.
Well, I think we said
it's been a must-win. So
look, I think we said that Kobe Bryant was the key. He had to put this team on his shoulders and carry them on his back, and he had to uplift them, especially after the last loss. They had Bynum saying that there were problems inside the team trust issues. I think that, we didn't really expect them to get swept, but on the other hand, we didn't really expect them to win a Game 4 against the Mavs. I think Game 3 was where we said they need to win here or it's over.
Well, I mean, you look at this game yesterday, and the Mavericks were just on fire. I mean, Jason Terry hits 9 of 10 threes. Peja Stojakovic hits 7 of 7 threes. And these guys are coming off the bench. Their bench outscored the Lakers. Scored the same amount of points as the whole Lakers team.
How excited do you have to be as the Mavericks team right now to have knocked off the Lakers in sweeping fashion?
We talked about this in Friday's show, and we agreed, I think, that if the Mavericks won, I felt like the Mavericks were the favorite, whether they won Game 4 or not. But you said if they win Game 4 and they sweep the Lakers, then they're the favorite for the championship. Do you still feel that way, or are you going to stay on your Miami Heat bandwagon?
You know what? The Miami Heat are showing chinks in the armor. I think it's going to be a good finals, Mavs versus Heat.
Okay. And who do you got?
I want, again, here we go.
Here we go. You said Friday.
No, I'm going to stick with the Heat. No, that's not what I said. I said I picked the Mavs to go to the finals.
You said if they sweep the Lakers.
I picked them to go to the finals.
Then... No, you said then they're probably going to win the finals.
No,
I wish we. You know what? We got to get that.
The tape.
Yeah, we got to get that tape. We got to get some kind of way to get Artie to get all these archived shows that we have.
I'm telling you.
And so we can go back and see.
Do you think the Mavs can beat the Heat?
I think they can if they play like
Well,
they
if
played
Chris-
against the
if
Lakers.
Chris Bosh keeps crying.
Did you think the Mavs could sweep the Lakers?
No.
Exactly. So
That's what I said. I think we'll have a good finals.
I think right now they're the most underrated team in the playoffs, and they're the scariest team because they live and die by the three. And if they get hot, and I think this is what happened in the game yesterday and what happened with the series with the Lakers. The Mavs got hot from three, and the Lakers, that's not their game, is shooting threes. But to keep up with the Mavericks, you feel like you have to shoot threes as a team. And the Lakers couldn't keep up, and that was obvious. And I think that really hurt the Lakers' game plan.
What about Chris Bosh, like, breaking down and
Well, we'll talk about Bosh in a little bit.
No, but I'm just
That's
saying.
your favorite. You're picking Miami as a favorite.
I still pick
now
Miami, but
now you want to talk bad about your boy Bosh?
Well, I do want to talk about it. I think it's a little bit disconcerting that Chris Bosh is going to, basically cry on the media's shoulder and say he was nervous and scared.
Well, we'll get to that, Mike. Right now, we're talking about the
All right,
Lakers and the Mavs.
The Mavs are a great team.
You have to have to give your hats off to the Mavs coach Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
He's been there for a couple years now, and
What
he's really bought that defensive mind frame to the.
What about
to
Phil
the Mavs.
Jackson though? If this is his swan song, 13 NBA championships, 2 as a player, 11 as a coach. That's impressive.
In 21 years as a head coach, this is the first time he's been swept in the playoffs.
Maybe it is time to say goodbye.
I mean, it's definitely time to get away from Kobe.
But how good is Phil Jackson? The fact that,
I mean, at this point, he's arguably the greatest coach in NBA history. He already has more rings as a coach than Red Auerbach. Red Auerbach, I think, has 8 or 9, the old Celtics coach. So he already has more than him at 11. So arguably, he's the best coach in the history, and he's also coached 2 of the best players, maybe 3 or 4 of the best players.
I would say 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He
coached Shaq, he coached Jordan, he coached Kobe. That's 3.
Yeah.
And you got a 4th? I like those 3. I'll say 3 of the best.
Well, I mean,
Pippen, you gonna throw Pippen in there?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. He's certainly a really good coach to have coached some of the best players in NBA history. And he certainly has the hardware to show for it. It's pretty impressive. A lot of people either love Phil Jackson or hate him. There seems to be no middle of the road. A lot of people feel that Phil Jackson...
You think people hate Phil Jackson?
I think a lot of people...
Do you hate Phil Jackson?
No, I like Phil Jackson.
I know you're a Mark Cuban fan. I'm not sure how you feel about Phil Jackson.
I like Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a Knick.
He was a Knick, yes.
So just on that fact, I gotta like him.
Okay. That sounds good.
He won 2 championships with the Knicks as a player.
Yes, he did. Yes,
so
that's how he got his first 2 rings.
Right. So I can't. But I like him. I think he actually brings a lot of calm to the coaching ranks, and I think that he coaches. You never see Phil really upset. It's very much like Joe Torre was.
He's an even keel type of guy.
Yeah, he's an
like a Tony Dungy.
Yeah. And I think that produces a lot of championships, a lot of confidence in his guys.
Well, he's the originator or
he's a Zen master
of the triangle offense.
Yeah.
In which you have to have a superstar in that offense for it to run. He had Jordan, and then he had Kobe in that triangle offense, and it's an unbelievable offense, and he did an unbelievable job. My thing is, what happens if he retires? Because he retired in Chicago, remember, and then went to L.A. What if he retires? I think the Mavs are the favorite to win the championship now. I think Phil Jackson, I'm going to go on a limb right now, say Phil Jackson retires from the Lakers and then goes to Miami and coaches LeBron, Wade, and Bosh.
Do you think...
Because I'm going to say Miami's not going to win, and then he's out of there.
Do you think for a second Pat Riley's going to let that happen?
You think Pat Riley's going to come out the stands or just get another ring?
I don't think Pat Riley.
I don't know if Pat Riley,
Phil Jackson coach his basketball team.
I don't know if Pat Riley and Phil Jackson can coexist in that organization.
I don't think so.
But perhaps. I'm sure they have a lot of respect for each other.
But there are a lot of teams that need coaches.
I don't see him going just any team.
What about
he needs
New York?
A superstar.
What about New York?
They don't have a superstar at the 2. He needs a superstar at the 2 or the 3, really the 2.
What if he takes a year off from basketball? They get CP3 when he's a free agent, and he comes
doesn't
back.
have that star player at the 2. I mean, Carmelo's a 3, but I don't know. I feel like maybe he could do it with Melo. I'm sure Melo could run the triangle offense, but he's not a shooting guard. I don't know. It's always been shooting guards. Jordan was a shooting guard. Kobe's a shooting guard. Pippen's a 3. It's kind of different, you know. I don't know. Small forward. I don't know. I feel like you got to run the triangle offense through the shooting guard.
Well, we could find out. I mean, it certainly would be a nice reunion for Phil Jackson, but I think he's done. I think he's really done.
You know what? And, you know, he's had a great coaching career. He's definitely a legend of all legends. But what I want to talk about now is because you hear all this talk, everybody saying Kobe's the best player ever and comparing him to Michael Jordan.
He's not.
This clearly shows.
He's not.
Clearly that he cannot touch what Michael Jordan did.
Michael Jordan
would have never, ever, ever, ever let this happen and any of his teams get swept.
Michael Jordan didn't get swept by the Knicks.
Never. He didn't get swept by anybody.
And the thing about Jordan is in a complete different stratosphere. There's Michael Jordan, and then there's everybody else.
Well, you know, Kobe's saying, well, if he gets another ring, then he's going to be tied with Jordan.
It's not even about rings. It's just about the fact.
Well, you said that before. It's about rings.
No, but it's not
I've heard you say that before.
But it's not only about rings. When you have a lot of rings, you got to compare other things, right? Jordan was a type of player that, yes, could bring everybody on his back and carry a basketball team. But in addition to that, Michael Jordan made everybody around him better and did it without the other superstars around him. And I know that you'll say Pippen was a good basketball player.
I mean, he was a superstar at that time. Can you argue with that?
He was a superstar because Michael Jordan made him a superstar.
Even the year Jordan retired, he was a superstar. He averaged a triple-double almost throughout that season.
Come on.
Pippen was one of the most versatile.
Does anybody know Pippen's name if Michael Jordan doesn't play
Scottie
basketball?
Pippen was one of the most versatile players that's ever played the
If
game.
Michael Jordan picks baseball over basketball, does anybody know who Scottie Pippen is?
Of course.
A couple people.
Just like you know who Rip Hamilton is. It's just, of course, he's going to be a name.
Come on.
He might not have the rings. He might not be as big a name, but I think he would have still been a star.
Michael Jordan
in the NBA.
was...
Well, Pippen has a statue in Chicago now, too.
So what? Michael
so
Jordan
that means you're a
unbelievable.
superstar.
That doesn't mean you're a superstar.
Do you know anybody?
Rocky Balboa has a statue in Philadelphia. He's a mythical, fictional character.
He's a superstar in Philly. Trust me. Ask Raheem Brock.
All right, this is Sports Daily. I'm Michael Artsis alongside my partner, Darrell Reid. We'll be back right after this, but call us up, 347-480-1724. That's the number to call. Say hello to Artie and tell us whether Michael Jordan is the best ever and is on his own planet, or if he's just maybe a little bit better than Kobe Bryant. We'll be back on Sports Daily right after this.
Welcome to Sports. My name is Greg Dorman, and this is Rally Notes.
Racing fans, don't forget that on Thursdays at 7 p.m., it's time for Rally Notes. Greg Dorman, rally racing co-driver from Klein Racing, hosts guests and takes your calls about the entire automotive industry, rally racing, and auto racing in general. Rally racing is a great sport. They have Subarus and all sorts of off-road, all-wheel drive vehicles that run through the mud and the backlogging roads. But he's not only talking rally, he'll talk all sorts of racing and automobiles as well. We'll test cars, we'll drive cars, and we'll have a lot of fun. Rally Notes, 7 p.m. on Thursday. Don't miss it.
Live on sports.com. I'm Peter Schwartz, and we're joined by one of the current.
If you want everything sports, you got to tune in to Schwartz on Sports. Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., Peter Schwartz, the esteemed broadcaster, takes on everything sports. He's got everything from high-end pro sports like the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball to alternative sports like extreme games, lacrosse, tennis, golf, and everything in between.
Joined by Minnesota Vikings Hall of Famer John Randall. Last year, you were inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that is the biggest honor that a player can get bestowed on him. What was that feeling like when you were enshrined in that candidate?
It was unbelievable.
You got to check out Schwartz on Sports because there's nothing you know that he doesn't. He knows everything sports. So check it out, 8 p.m. on sports.com, Tuesdays.
Justin Tucker, the New York Giants, and you're watching Sportce.com.
If you want everything sports, you got to go to Sportce.com. That's spelled SPORTCE.com. We're going to take you behind the scenes in the world of sports and a lot more. It's sport, content, and entertainment. We got a lot of great stuff. Technology segments.
Now it's got the front and back facing cameras, so you can do video chats like this one via Skype on the 3G network, and you can do FaceTime, only available on the Wi-Fi. It's got a lot of other great features. You can edit on it with iMovie. You can make songs and voiceovers.
Behind the scenes.
We back, Sportce.com, at this secret location behind the scenes. Jim Jones.
We'll take you into the lives of athletes, follow them off the field, but it's also music.
Be right here, but it's perfect day.
And other genres as well. Check us out, Sportce.com, and we've got live shows 5 days a week. A lot of live shows with live guests in our New York City studios. We've got Rally Notes at 7 p.m. on Thursday nights, The Warning Track, 6 p.m. on Friday nights, Schwartz on Sports with esteemed broadcaster Peter Schwartz, 8 p.m. on Tuesday nights, and on Wednesdays, it's The Music Movement with Darrell Reid. Check us out, Sportce.com.
Welcome back to Sportce Daily. Darrell, Reid, Michael Artsis. And before we get into this Hawks game, we got to talk about these shots from this LA game, and Andrew Bynum and Lamar Odom both getting ejected last night. So we're going to show you these clips from the game and get your opinion and maybe get Mike's opinion, maybe talk about these for a little bit.
All right, let's take a
First
look at
one's
those.
this Lamar Odom. I feel like the guy shouldn't even been ejected. Maybe a foul, maybe a flagrant foul, but it wasn't even that bad of a hit to me.
I think Artie's got him queued up. Let's take a look.
Because you're dealing with a franchise player here, and then Odom is still giving a lot of lip right here now.
He's yelling and cursing here at Nowitzki.
And Nowitzki right now, he just has to walk away.
Mainly
because you are the star for your team. Up until today in the first
right
3
there,
games,
that's
there
nothing.
it is right
Come
there.
on.
That's uncalled for.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to call that.
It's a 27.
I mean, it's a foul, but it's.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna make a suspension or a big deal out of that.
he got a flagrant 2, I believe, and an ejection off that play right there.
Yeah, that's kind of lame.
It's lame.
That's very lame. Yeah.
And to me, you're just
it's
bumping a guy.
a foul.
And it's definitely a foul, but Dirk acted a little bit. You know.
It looked
he
like
got an Academy Award.
You know what it looked like? It looked like he went to foul him and they got caught up a little bit, and it looked awkward. It didn't look like he was intending to.
Those NBA guys, those are some Academy Award winners. Professional floppers.
A flagrant foul, the rules of a flagrant foul are that you are doing it intentionally. And
well, that looked intentional.
So I would give him the flagrant.
That looked intentional.
No
ejection.
No ejection, but a flagrant foul.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think he deserved to be ejected.
No, I don't think he deserves to be ejected.
Now, I don't know if he was mouthing off a little bit after that.
I mean, you don't know.
Or if he just, I think they were trying to say.
Maybe they gave him the flagrant and then he mouthed off and then he gets thrown out.
I was watching the game. I don't remember him mouthing off. I think he got the foul, got the flagrant foul, and they wanted to send a message because they didn't want the game to get out of hand. And so they ejected him to send a message to the other players. We're not going to let this game get out of hand. LA, it's over for you guys. You've gotten swept, but we're not going to let this get out of hand. We're not going to let players get hurt. But it actually did get out of hand because this next play with Andrew Bynum, I mean.
I love that everybody's looking at me while you're talking.
It's fine. Artie's queuing things up. So we got this next. Now this one is like fine-worthy. This one reminds me of the old Detroit Pistons, old New York Knicks versus Jordan.
Let's take a look.
The perimeter for Dallas to shooting. Not backing down. Oh, look at that. That is Bynum. He will be ejected, and that's seen in a game. That's disgusting.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And I just don't understand why this is happening. We're talking about, when you say Los Angeles Lakers,
absolutely,
you're talking about excellence. You're talking about titles. You're talking about some of the greatest players ever to play.
First of all, why is he taking his jersey off? This isn't the WWF, even though that looked like the leg drop from Hulk Hogan or the clothesline from the Ultimate Warrior.
Like a clothesline, bro. It was that,
or Macho Man Randy Savage.
Thank God J.J. Barrera didn't get hurt on that play. I mean, that was vicious.
Where is Jimmy Superfly Snuka?
That was just
on
like
that play.
Vicious. It was
there's no place for that in basketball. If you're gonna go hard inside, that's one thing. You could see that. You could see that evidently that was a anticipated move, and he just threw the elbow.
Well, you look at the.
Elbow right into him. There's got to be a
play again. Look at the look on Bynum's face. That last replay when he's just like, I'm out of here. Who cares? Odom already got ejected. I'm getting ejected. I don't care if this guy gets hurt.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, he didn't go for the ball. It was like.
Yeah, that's.
Look at the look on his face right here. Look. Like whatever.
He's got to be fined, suspended for next season. Part of the games. There's no place for this in basketball. And really, again, this is the I think the second time in this series where a dangerous fight could have gotten out of control.
It could have definitely been a fight.
And I think it really actually brings up a point that I wanted to talk about the Lakers, and that is that the Lakers. This is the end of their dynasty, and it's time to break up this team. It's time to get rid of Ron Artest. It's time to get rid of Bynum. It's time to go get some other guys.
Dwight Howard.
Maybe Dwight Howard.
It's been a lot of talk that they might go get Dwight Howard.
And I think that the only guys that really are core guys that need to stay on that team, in my mind, Kobe, maybe Gasol.
Gasol played
But he had one bad
cotton,
series.
soft, tissue.
And what about Lamar? Would you keep Lamar?
I mean, he's coming off the bench, and he's kind of represents Hollywood with that relationship with Chloe and everything. So.
But I think that most of those guys, it's time to move on, and everybody would be expendable except for Kobe at this point.
I think everybody is expendable.
Or maybe even Kobe's expendable. You trade him and get something good for him for somebody.
They're never trading Kobe. Come on, Mike.
I'm just saying.
Mike, snap back to reality.
What do you mean snap back to
You're
reality?
not trading Kobe.
What are you talking about? That's the move.
They just lost Phil Jackson. They're losing Phil Jackson. They're going to lose both.
Okay, but you're clearly.
Otherwise, they might as well start rebuilding.
That's what I'm talking about.
Plus, trying to rebuild.
You can get something good from Kobe.
He's talking about catching Michael Jordan.
They're not going to win next year.
Who, the Lakers?
Yeah.
You're already counting them out for next year?
Of course.
It's too early, Mike. They were your favorite. Now,
yeah, but this was their last year. This was their dynasty. That was it.
Gosh.
What you think that the Lakers are going to come back? The smartest move they could do is get rid of Kobe. He's got a high trade value.
Please call in 347-480-1724, 347-480-1724, and tell us if the Lakers should get rid of Kobe Bryant.
Absolutely.
Oh
from a
my
business,
gosh.
from a pure
this is like
business
a new,
standpoint.
This is like left wing.
What do you mean left wing? What? It's out of thin air, right? It's crazy. It's off the wall.
This is crazy.
More off the wall than anything you could hear.
So how many games should Andrew Bynum be suspended next year?
I think 4.
4 games?
Yeah.
Fine?
Yeah.
How much?
$75,000.
I was going to say 50. 75 though. He deserves it.
You got to go a little deep anyway. $50,000.
Pause. Wow. I'd say 100,000, maybe 100,000. All right.
But I'm telling you, Kobe, if they're smart, they'll deal Kobe because building another team around him is going to take too long.
No, all they need to do, ship Bynum up out of there, get Gasol up out of there, go get Dwight Howard, and they got a dynasty again. It's like having a young Shaq again.
All right.
With an aging Kobe.
Speaking
obviously,
of Shaq, did anybody look worse than Shaq?
One more thing about yesterday's game.
Yeah.
The Dallas Mavericks did such a good job defensively on Kobe. It wasn't that Kobe was missing shots or Kobe wasn't being aggressive. They were double teaming Kobe all over the floor. And so he had to get rid of the basketball. And the other guys on that team didn't show up.
Hold on. Let me clarify something before we get back to that. They should shop Kobe. If they can get something big enough for him, they should trade him. They shouldn't just trade him for
So you're not letting this Kobe talk go.
They shouldn't just trade him for a keg of beer.
The number is 347-480-1724. Please call in. Mike's talking about shopping Kobe.
What if they could get Blake Griffin for Kobe Bryant?
I don't think that's a good trade. I don't think that's a good trade. He's a power forward. All they got to do is go get Dwight Howard.
I'm telling you, this is the time to trade Kobe.
Blake Griffin alone?
If somebody out
Okay,
there,
all right. Look.
if somebody,
now listen,
if somebody
now
will give
listen.
you something,
we're
for
gonna
him.
turn Mike into a GM real quick.
Yeah.
So they go get Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
What are the other pieces that they
now
have?
you got to rebuild.
Exactly.
You get rid of everybody. You blow the team up.
rebuild. How do you go from 3-4-time champions to rebuilding?
Well, you got one, maybe
Well,
two.
they did get swept.
Yeah, and you got one, maybe two, maybe
it's
three
time.
good seasons out of Kobe left with no pieces around him.
I don't agree with that.
With no pieces
They
around him.
got pieces.
You
They
could
were the
get 2 or
favorite.
3 or
They were
4.
the favorite this
You
year.
could
Now
get-
they have no pieces. How do you go from being the favorite to win the NBA championship to having no pieces?
we saw their underbelly exposed, and we saw that, and because they might have been the favorite because everybody thought that they'd have one more run, and that's the thing. I don't think anybody thinks that these guys are going to do it next year. Everybody feels that these guys are finished. So either these guys are going to get angry and come out and show that they're, that they can do it, or Kobe's going to have to play the next 2 or 3 seasons with a couple of okay players and maybe just make some runs, or they're going to get Kobe out of there for a good value and maybe be able to put another dynasty together with a young player and 2 or 3 other players around.
I don't think they're ever going to get rid of Kobe. If his contract's over, which he's just signed a new deal last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe if his contract's over, maybe they'll let him, shop.
No, I'm
free
talking about
agency.
right now as a business decision.
No.
How can you say you got to shop them?
It's not happening. It's not happening. So anyway, the Hawks.
Wait, you wanted to finish about the Lakers that nobody else showed up other than Kobe.
Well, yeah, nobody else showed up. I mean, that's evident. Gasol, Bynum.
But
actually,
now they could be favorites again next year.
They could be. They
No.
were favorites this year. They could be favorites. Just because
They were
they
at
had
the end of their run.
just
Everybody
because they
thought
got
could-
exposed.
Everybody thought they could ring the towel for one more,
Just because
a little bit more
it's going to
juice
be
out of that
different if
towel.
they don't have Phil Jackson, but that remains to be seen. But just because they got exposed by a very hot Dallas Mavericks team that was shooting out of this world, and that
They
really
got exposed by their own players.
No.
Bynum, get rid of him. He's a headache. Artest is only good to stick around for 1 or 2 years. I mean, Artest is already showing signs of trouble.
I'm not disagreeing with
I will
Artest or
say
Bynum.
right now, Artest plays for some NBA team next year and starts such a ruckus he misses half the season from suspension. He causes problems next year. It's his MO. It's like T.O. That's why everybody
Artest
wants
came
to
to
give
one of my
T.O. a
birthday
one-year
parties.
contract.
I can't talk bad
I'm
about
not
him.
saying he's a bad
So
guy.
listen.
He's just, he just can't handle himself.
But I'm not arguing with the whole Artest, get rid of Artest, get rid of Bynum thing. But Kobe is not going anywhere, Mike. And that's all I'm saying, all right? So,
I'm
the
just
Hawks,
saying they would be smart to take a look at what they could get for Kobe. Not
Okay,
necessarily trade him, but what they could get.
All right, I got you. The Hawks, even this series with Chicago last night, the series now 2-2. And I was watching this game yesterday, and I knew, watching this game, I told you, do you remember what I told you the key to this game is? Or the key to this series, or the key to the Hawks winning is what?
Is Joe Johnson
Okay, Mike.
getting hot
What?
and early.
Early.
Yep.
You watched that game. Mike, I'm so proud of you, man. You actually listen to me while I'm up here. Of
course.
So, Joe Johnson started the game 4 for 4, 9 points. So right there, I said, you know what? I don't even care what happens the rest of the game. They're going to win. Because that's the key to the Atlanta Hawks.
And Derrick
Joe
Rose had a pretty
Johnson.
good game, didn't he?
Derrick Rose had a good game. Carlos Boozer kind of showed up. He had 18, but only 6 rebounds. So, maybe he was kind of soft down low. But he showed up on the offensive end of the court. But to me, Joe Johnson is the key to this series and the key to the Hawks. If he gets started early and they get an effort like that from Josh Smith, he had 23, what did he have? 23, 16, and 8 assists.
Well, here's the thing that we said from game 1 of this series, and that was that Joe Johnson has surprised so many people. He had a coming out party this year, basically. All these people who didn't know who Joe Johnson was.
Mike, that's what you said. I knew who Joe Johnson was, but go ahead.
You're going to let me finish the sentence?
But, Mike, you can't say that's what we said. Say that's what I said. I said, because that's what you said. I didn't ever agree with you on that one.
Oh, okay, fine.
You weren't familiar with Joe Johnson, so speak from your heart, Mike.
It's not
Go
that I
ahead,
wasn't
Mike. Speak
familiar.
from your heart.
It's not that I wasn't familiar with Joe Johnson. I think that I underestimated Joe Johnson,
yep.
and I thought he was very underrated. And at this point, these different players in the league didn't respect Joe Johnson the way they should. And Joe Johnson happens to be a very good player, and the key to the success of this team, of this Atlanta Hawks team. And in addition to that, I thought that the Bulls had no depth and were overrated. And Derrick Rose, while he had a good season and is a good player, didn't do enough and couldn't do enough to carry this Chicago Bulls team. And if Joe Johnson and Crawford got hot and stayed hot, these guys were going to dominate the series, and they were going to take the series on their backs and change the way the series happened. Now, Joe Johnson has proved to be a very good basketball player, better than many thought, including myself, but not you. You always knew he was a good basketball player.
I didn't always know, but I've known for at least 3 years now. He's been an all-star, 3-time, 4-time all-star.
But I counted these Atlanta Hawks out before Game 1, and when I saw Game 1, I turned it around.
I'm glad you're saying that, Mike.
And you also counted them out because you had the Bulls going all the way to the finals.
I still got the Bulls going to the finals.
Oh, still.
I was just going to say, as the series shifts back to Chicago, I expect the Bulls to win Game 5.
Okay.
And maybe they lose Game 6 because the Atlanta Hawks are tough in Atlanta. You might go out and party a little bit in Atlanta. So maybe they lose Game 6, but then they win Game 7 in Chicago.
So they're going to go to the Mons Venus in Atlanta before the game?
I don't know. No, I'm just speculating. I don't think they go out before a playoff game. I don't think that at all.
I would hope not, but because they got to win basketball games.
And they have been winning basketball games. And I think if you get the effort from Boozer that you got last night, maybe we need some more rebounds from Boozer.
How do they shut down Joe Johnson?
You can't let him get in a rhythm. You cannot let him get in a rhythm early in the game.
You know, a lot of people would take fouls late in the game. Would you ever think about taking a foul or two early in the game to disrupt him a little?
I don't know. Not a shooting foul, because once he gets to the free throw line, any shooter, anybody knows this about a shooter in the NBA, especially once you get to that level. As a shooter, and a very good shooter that Joe Johnson is, if you see the ball go through the net, which he will, he's over 85% free throw shooter. If you see the ball go through the net, that starts to build your confidence.
How do you disrupt him?
You know, you got to give him little bumps, and you got to make sure when he catches the ball, you're close up on him. You can't give him any room to shoot. And you just got to distract. Maybe I double team Joe Johnson early in the game to start off the game. Get the ball out of his hands so he doesn't get any free open looks. Or just get the ball out of his hands so somebody else has to create. Somebody else has to get going early in that game. And therefore, Joe Johnson kind of struggles a little bit. Kind of like Kobe struggled against the Mavs because they were doubling him. Now, they doubled him the whole game. I believe with Joe Johnson, you just have to do it for the first quarter. And as long as he doesn't start off slow, start off fast, and I think this series has proved it, then they're a much better or worse team with him not starting fast.
So you think that if the Bulls can keep him from starting fast, that the Bulls will win?
Definitely. I think that's going to happen Game 5.
Game 5. All right. How about Manny Pacquiao and Shane Mosley, who I think Shane Mosley forgot to show up for the fight?
Well, I mean, to me, this fight, I mean, I don't know if you paid for it, the $70.
I didn't pay for it. I couldn't do it.
Did you watch the fight?
I wanted to. I didn't watch it. I watched the highlights. I wanted to watch the fight, but I think $70 is a lot of money to plunk down for a fight that you don't think it's going to be that good.
I think going into this fight, everybody knew Pacquiao was going to win. Me and Mike, we talked about it.
Right.
And you told me not to bet on the fight.
Was that good advice?
With the odds, yes.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to bet so much. But to me, it was such a boring fight.
Yeah.
And it was like wrestling. It was like set up. Like there's no way Mosley should have went 12 rounds with Pacquiao. That fight should have been over in about the 4th round.
Do you think that Pacquiao, it looked like from what I saw, that Pacquiao kind of felt he beat him early and then didn't want to risk getting hurt, so just let Shane kind of walk away from him. He didn't have that killer instinct. He didn't go for the kill. That's what from the highlights I saw.
He didn't go for the kill. He did not go for the kill, and that's what made me think it was a setup. You look at his past fights. You look at Pacquiao's past fights against Margarita, against Cotto, against Ricky Hatton. You look at his past fights, and his punch numbers are through the roof. And it's not even just punch numbers. It's not like he's like Ali, he's throwing jabs. He's throwing twice as many power punches as he does jabs.
But here's the thing. Does Pacquiao's corner say we've got a lot of big fights coming up? We've got a lot of big fights that we could have.
This is a big fight. He's only one more big fight coming up.
If you look at the scorecards, this was a blowout by boxing standards. A blowout.
Okay.
Okay, there was pretty much no way past round 5 Shane Mosley, with exception to a knockout, was coming back. So does the corner say, first of all, don't get hurt. Number 2, don't get knocked out. Number 3, there's no reason for you to take unnecessary abuse when you've already beaten this guy hands down. And if he starts to come on a little bit for 1 or 2 rounds, then you can turn it back on. But
I would agree
keep
with
your fighter safe.
I would agree with you, but the only issue I have with that is, number 1, in boxing, as soon as you start telling a fighter, you know, don't fight as hard, don't get knocked out, you have a fighter in there thinking, worrying about, you know, his opponent. You let them fight. You let him fight how he fights. And the other thing is, if that was their philosophy, then this is how Pacquiao would fight all the time in his other fights. And he never fights like that.
He's not blowing guys out in his other fights.
He knocked Ricky Hatton out in his second round.
But he knocked him out. He's not blowing them out on the scorecards where there's no way for them to come back.
No. Because the scorecards don't matter. If you can knock a guy out, you knock him out. So this is what
I would agree with you. I want to see knockouts in boxing. I hate decisions, and personally, I don't like when guys back down.
I think that's Ricky Hatton right there, and
they're there to fight.
It almost looked like Ricky Hatton in 2 rounds. Yeah. In 2 rounds, looked like he had brain damage, and that's how hard Pacquiao was punching. And
Mosley just looked like he didn't want any part of the fight.
Well, you know, Mosley actually fought. I want to say better than I thought he would, because to me Mosley has no left jab, and he threw the left jab a little bit early in that fight. Maybe threw Pacquiao off because Pacquiao wasn't expecting the left jab from him, because he had no left jab when he fought Mayweather. So I was like, okay, we're gonna go into this fight. He has no left jab. He has no chance. But he did shoot the left jab a couple times early in the fight, and then he went to his phantom left jab. But this is what showed me, or proved to me in my mind. I went back and looked at Pacquiao's CompuBox stats from his last fights. So against Cotto, he threw 780 total punches, right? Yeah. 560 were power punches, 220 jabs. Against Margarito, so you got a 2-to-1 ratio, right? Against Margarito, 1,000 punches, 1,069 punches, 713 power punches, 356 jabs. Again, 2-to-1 ratio, correct?
Yep.
Ricky Hatton, 127 punches, but it's only 2 rounds because he knocked him out. 105 power punches, 22 jabs. Now you get to this Mosley fight, he throws 727 punches, which is already low on his punch count, and he's got 350 power punches and 374 jabs. He threw more jabs than he threw power punches. He's never done that.
So you think it was fixed to go 12 rounds for what purpose?
So he can get that fight with Mayweather. Because if you're knocking guys out consistently, you already got this, oh, he's on steroids thing in the back of everybody else's mind. If you come out, you don't look as good, you don't look as sharp, you look a little sloppy, and you don't knock the guy out, people say, okay, maybe Pacquiao's not on anything. Maybe he is vulnerable to Mayweather, to Floyd Mayweather. Maybe Floyd will fight him now because he looks more vulnerable.
Do you really think that Floyd's going to make his decision based on how far this fight went and how Shane made him look?
You don't think boxers make decisions based on how their opponent looked in their previous fight?
I think what happened
is boxing is all about that. It's all about matchups and setups.
I think that
Think about Tyson early in his career. The trainer set it up so Tyson would fight certain types of opponents, you know, maybe a taller guy.
But I don't know that Tyson knew that.
It doesn't matter. That's for your trainer. That's for your promoter to do. And that's what I believe.
I think that they looked at Shane Mosley and they said, he is not an easy guy to knock out, and you've got to fight him differently.
But you say that, and he still knocked Mosley out.
He knocked him down.
He knocked him down. But I think if he was more aggressive, it's 1-to-1 power. He threw more jabs than he threw power punches for the first time in 10 fights, at least. That's how far I went back. So at least 10 fights. Why would he do that, Mike? Can you explain that? And it's against a guy who doesn't have a jab. And a guy who doesn't throw back.
Then Mosley
only threw 350 punches the whole fight.
It's clearly so that Mayweather will fight him.
250 jabs, and that's if you include that little phantom jab. He's not even like throwing a hard jab. He's just like kind of measuring Pacquiao.
I don't know though. I still think it's strategy. I still think it was the strategy, and it's to keep your boxer safe and to keep him.
But it's against a guy who's not even punching.
Okay, so let's just say, for instance, he was on steroids, right?
Okay.
That's the rumor, right?
Okay.
So if you say that he was on steroids and now he's not, right?
Uh-huh.
Then maybe his power punches aren't as effective, and he's got to do something else. So what do? You go to your jab, which chips away at the guy, chips away at the guy, chips away at the guy. Wouldn't that make a little bit more sense? You've got to change your strategy.
Okay, okay. Well, then you're still going with the same thing. I could be on the same page with you on that one, Mike, that he used to be on something and now he wasn't for this fight. So what does that say for the Mayweather fight? Because if he fights like he fought against Shane Mosley, he's going to lose to Floyd Mayweather.
I think it says no matter what, it's going to be a good fight if they can put it together. But that's the question. If
he fights like he fought against Mosley, he's going to lose to Floyd Mayweather. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yes, but maybe
number one, he doesn't have the defense. He doesn't have the defense. He has a lot of bounce. He didn't have a lot of bounce against Shane Mosley. I don't think he needed to because Shane Mosley wasn't throwing any punches.
Shane Mosley, the only direction Shane Mosley moved in was backwards. He didn't move forwards. You don't need to head bop or weave or anything. He literally could have stood there the whole fight. Mosley wasn't coming after him. If he had stood in the opposite corner, Mosley wouldn't have come to him.
Listen, he just didn't seem like Pacquiao. I don't know if the people out here listening right now, if you agree, if you saw the fight, call in 347-480-1724. Call in and tell me what you think. If you thought Pacquiao looked different or he didn't look right, he looked sloppy to me. And he's usually very sharp, usually bouncing a lot in the ring,
also
and throwing a lot of punches
maybe he didn't train
and a lot
hard.
of power punches.
Nobody gave Shane Mosley a chance. Nobody looked at Shane Mosley and said, this guy could win the fight. Maybe Pacquiao didn't give Mosley a chance and said, you know what, I'm not going to train as hard. I'm going to goof around a little bit more. I'm going to take it easy.
Well, you could be right. Or maybe
it's a combination of all
Or maybe
these
he
things.
said, you know what, I don't need that for this fight. I don't need that extra stuff for this fight. I can beat this guy.
He's been on steroids.
That's what you said.
No,
maybe.
No, I said if he's been on steroids.
Well, hey, listen.
And you're saying
something was different this weekend. That's all I know.
All right.
Something was a lot different.
Well, I wanted to talk about this Kentucky Derby because, it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people get really amped for the Kentucky Derby, and I'm not that big into horse racing or the Derby itself, but I think an interesting story unfolded. So this guy, John Vasquez, was supposed to ride Uncle Mo, who was the second favorite to win the race. And Uncle Mo can't race the day before the race because of stomach problems.
Gastrointestinal inflammation.
And then John Vasquez, who's about to be inducted into the Equestrian Jockey Hall of Fame, right? But he's never won the Kentucky Derby. He's an older jockey at this point. And he doesn't look like he's got a horse to race. Well, there's this horse, Animal Kingdom, who needs a jockey because the other jockey gets hurt. Animal Kingdom's jockey gets hurt the day before the race. And so Vasquez jumps on, Animal Kingdom. And then you've got some other storylines. You've got a woman running with one of the horses, and you've got Arch, who's running, the rider is running on his father-in-law's horse. And so you've got a lot of different storylines.
Macho Man.
And Nero, and all these other horses. And what happens? The guy running Animal Kingdom comes from behind, at the back of the pack, halfway through the race, to win the Kentucky Derby. His first Kentucky Derby and Animal Kingdom's first race on dirt ever. That's pretty impressive.
Well, going back to the boxing thing, we talked about the odds going into that fight, right?
Yep.
And how the odds weren't in bettors' favors to get a lot of bets on that fight, correct?
Right. Correct.
Because nobody felt Mosley could win, and then the odds for Pacquiao were too high, where you have to put too much money on him. Now, horse racing, if boxing is kind of set up, which you agree with that or not?
Boxing, there's a lot of fixing in boxing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Horse racing, even more fixing.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Without a doubt.
So this whole thing with he was riding Uncle Mo, and then now somehow Animal Kingdom's jockey gets hurt or something. They never really said what the injury was, what happened with Animal Kingdom's original jockey. But I think this guy, John Velasquez, I think he had it in, and it was meant for him to win that race, and whatever horse he ended up on was going to win that race.
20-1 long shot.
20-1.
That means the bookies make a lot of money. The gamblers probably don't, except for the people who bet on Animal Kingdom.
I think horse racing, especially the Kentucky Derby, there's so many horses in the field where the odds are a little bit better, where you're going to be able to make more money.
Animal Kingdom has never run on dirt before and wins the Kentucky Derby. It's only has 4th start.
So you don't feel like this was like kind of a setup? I mean, with the whole jockey,
you know,
Uncle
it's
Mo's
the first
jockey.
thing that runs through my mind, of course,
on.
is that there's some kind of setup going on.
You ever been to a racetrack?
I've been twice.
Twice. My grandfather used to go to the racetrack all the time. You know, he was a regular. Freehold Raceway. I'm from Freehold, New Jersey, so whatever. When you go to the racetrack, so the horses are warming up, and then, you know, right before they go behind that gate, before they start, they look at the odds. They look at the actual, I don't know what it's called on the center field, the whole I guess kind of like a scoreboard, but it's horse racing, so it's a little different, but it's a scoreboard, and they look at the odds, and when I seen them do that, I said, you know what? This has got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed.
You know, it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk of horse racing being fixed for a long time. And there's been horse racing.
It's been fixed for a long time. That's why you get those, you know the guys, you know what I'm saying, Mike? You grew up with a lot of Italians. Hey, I got number 7. Get the 7 horse in the 8th race. That's the winner. You know?
Hey, forget about it,
You know, you've heard about that. Come on.
You know, hey, I got to tell you.
Hey, I got a tip. I got a little tip for you.
Let me tell you about this horse. I got a horse. It's a stud, yo. You know what I'm saying? This thing's going to win. All right, we got to take a break. Sports Daily. I'm Michael Artsis alongside Darrell, Reid. 347-480-1724. That's the number to call in.
After the break. Call in after the break. Or call in during the break.
Call in and stay on hold.
Whatever you want to do. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome to Sports. My name is Greg Dorman, and this is Rally Notes.
Racing fans, don't forget that on Thursdays at 7 p.m., it's time for Rally Notes. Greg Dorman, rally racing co-driver from Klein Racing, hosts guests and takes your calls about the entire automotive industry, rally racing, and auto racing in general. Rally racing is a great sport. They have Subarus and all sorts of off-road, all-wheel drive vehicles that run through the mud and the backlogging roads. But he's not only talking rally, he'll talk all sorts of racing and automobiles as well. We'll test cars, we'll drive cars, and we'll have a lot of fun. Rally Notes, 7 p.m. on Thursday. Don't miss it.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the Warning Track. I'm Matt Mankiewicz.
If you could change one thing about the game today, what would it be?
Baseball fans, don't forget to check out the Warning Track Friday nights at 6 p.m. with Brett Quintine and Matt Mankiewicz. They'll take you through the MLB season, talk everything baseball, have great guests, and field your calls. It's 6 p.m. on Friday night. Don't miss it. The Warning Track. It's out of here.
I'm Justin Tucker, the New York Giants, and you're watching Sportce.com.
If you want everything sports, you got to go to Sportce.com. That's spelled SPORTCE.com. We're going to take you behind the scenes in the world of sports and a lot more. It's sport, content, and entertainment. We got a lot of great stuff. Technology segments.
Now it's got the front and back facing cameras, so you can do video chats like this one via Skype on the 3G network, and you can do FaceTime, only available on the Wi-Fi. It's got a lot of other great features. You can edit on it with iMovie. You can make songs and voiceovers.
Behind the scenes.
We back, Sports.com, at this secret location behind the scenes. Jim Jones.
We'll take you into the lives of athletes, follow them off the field, but it's also music.
Be right here, but it's perfect day.
And other genres as well. Check us out, Sportce.com, and we've got live shows 5 days a week. A lot of live shows with live guests in our New York City studios. We've got Rally Notes at 7 p.m. on Thursday nights, The Warning Track, 6 p.m. on Friday nights, Schwartz on Sports with esteemed broadcaster Peter Schwartz, 8 p.m. on Tuesday nights. And on Wednesdays, it's the Music Movement with Darrell Reid. Check us out, sports.com.
Welcome back, Sports Daily. Darrell, Reid, Michael Artsis on this Monday afternoon, and I just can't get over this boxing match this weekend, and it's just not settling good with me. It's not sitting good. Over the break, me and Mike still talking about the boxing thing, and I just think it was like set up, man. Like Pacquiao did not look the same.
I think no matter what, I think Mosley didn't want to be there.
Mosley's
it looked
there.
like Mosley was just cashing in on a paycheck.
Well, Mosley's there because he got left by his wife, and she took a lot of money, man. She took a lot of that dough.
I gotta tell you,
he needs to recoup.
Seriously, though, I think he's at the end of his boxing career, and it's one of those things where he's just looking for a paycheck. And he's basically, I think he served as what normally we would think of as a journeyman or as a punching bag for a setup for the next fight, and that is hopefully and Mayweather.
Mosley's been a great fighter, throughout his career. Take nothing away.
Well, he's gone up and down,
but it's kind of the end of the road.
Yeah. What about Tiger? He falls to number 8 in the world, Mickelson is number 4, and Lee Westwood is number 1.
Yeah, I'm like, who's number 1? If Mickelson's number 4, Tiger's number 8, who's number 1?
I personally think Tiger's at the point where he should take a break from golf for a couple months, get his act together, and get back on that golf course.
We're not even going to go back into Mike's advice for Tiger, because that goes so deep into the rabbit hole. We do not want to go there today.
I'm just saying he should take a break from golf.
Yeah, you said he shouldn't take a break from some other things last time we talked about Tiger.
I think if he wants to be a good golfer, he's got to figure out what makes him a good golfer, and whatever that is. Look, he's a single man right now. He can do whatever he wants, and that's the reality of the situation. But he's got to figure out what's going to get his head back into the golf game. If he wants to be a good golfer, either that or he should figure out a way to walk away from the game either completely or temporarily to figure out what's going on.
When we were talking about that Tiger would actually get it together, we were hoping, and remember he had that run, and we were like, oh, maybe Tiger's back.
We talked about that there
golf
are other
more
factors
interesting
now. I still think that they're the younger golfers who were mostly inspired by Tiger to go out there and play, and are starting to come into their own and are making it harder for Tiger to play. I still think that that's the truth. But Tiger clearly isn't the same Tiger he was.
And it's bad for golf. And I've said this before, it's very bad for golf. You look on ESPN.com, and they have a Tiger tracker. There's no Lee Westwood tracker. There's no Phil Mickelson tracker. But they have the Tiger tracker. That's how much popularity he brings to that game. And back to this boxing match from this weekend. You know what made me mad? This guy, Mosley, bro, Shane Mosley, Sugar Shane, he looks like he's got some sugar in his tank. This guy, I mean, every like 2 seconds, he's like tapping gloves with Pacquiao. Like, who does that? Like, friendly, like we're sparring partners. Like, hey, after he got knocked out, he got up and he was like, all right.
I think a guy who doesn't want to be there, who's only there for the paycheck, maybe he even leaned in and said, listen, man, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
You know what?
I'm not going to hurt you. Don't hurt me.
Mike, you might be right, because he was leaning in and talking in Pacquiao's ears quite a few times, and he's probably saying, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Just let the fight go. We're going to both get our money. We're going to both get our money.
And that's where you get a lot of jabs and less power punches, especially if the power punches don't have that much on them, though. You can easily switch to them.
Mike, you know what? Mike makes a very good point.
I do like boxing. I've been a boxing fan for a long time. All right. I wanted to talk about another guy who a lot of people said was fading into the sunset.
He's back.
And then now everybody's saying he's back.
He's back, and I'm not talking about 4-5.
I'm talking about Derek Jeter, and I don't think he's necessarily back after one weekend, but I don't think he was done finished. I don't think stick a fork in him. I just think he wasn't the Jeter that we all expected. I think he's going to have his moments, but we have to understand he's in the tail end of his career. He's a solid defensive player. He's not as strong offensively. Hits 2 home runs over the weekend, and every Yankee fan in the world is saying Jeter is back, pumping their fist, saying, yes, the captain is back.
What do you want from him?
Because I don't think
he
he's
wears jersey number 2.
Back.
He wears jersey number 2.
Yeah.
And he hits 2 home runs.
But it doesn't mean he's back. It just means
this
that
is what
Jeter
I think.
had a good game.
This is what I think. I think, Derek Jeter's been having some issues where his ribs been bothering him or something.
Yeah.
Who knows how long he's been dealing with that. And he's the captain, so he tries to play through it, doesn't let that rest at all, doesn't let it heal or recover at all. And I think because of that, he took a game off or a couple games off. Remember, we talked about him taking it, and everybody was worried. And I think that rejuvenated him. His batting average went up 20 points this weekend.
I think that Jeter is a good player. I think he's a solid player. I'm not saying he's not going to hit home runs anymore. I'm not saying he's not going to be a threat offensively. I just think it's not the same Jeter we expect. He's in the latter part of his career. Yes, he will take longer to heal. And if he takes some time off to heal, then he might actually be able to lengthen his career, because at the end, you're not as resilient as you are in the beginning. But I think that Jeter, it's a little too early to jump on the Jeter's done bandwagon. It's also a little too early to jump on the Jeter is back.
And I think to be fair, you got to remember, it's not like Jeter was just this big, all-time great slugger.
Right.
That's not his game.
Jeter was a clutch hitter.
He's a clutch hitter.
Exactly. Who would hit singles, doubles, maybe even triples, and a couple of home runs when you needed him to.
And would be near the maybe top 10, top 20 in batting average.
And was excellent defensively.
Well,
and now I think he's, a lot of people are saying he's lost a little bit of range. I don't know. Anything that comes near him that he can get to, he scoops up. He still makes those amazing defensive plays. I think Jeter still has some left in the tank. He's still a good shortstop. But
first home run in 62 games.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Congratulations. 2, and he got 2.
Yeah.
So what to watch tonight? We got the Celtics-Miami game.
Yeah. You got to watch that. There's nothing else to watch.
I mean, Shaq's back. Why wouldn't you watch?
Shaq? Did you see how bad Shaq was over the weekend?
But I told you, it wasn't about what he did in the game. It was about the energy he brought to the game, and he energized that Boston team over the weekend.
So you got the Celtics to win again?
Yeah, but I'm kind of worried about Rondo. Rondo, you see
Rondo.
that? We should
have talked about that. How did we not talk about Rondo?
Rondo,
I
hope Rondo plays tonight. I'm so worried. He's got that dislocated elbow.
He's going to play. They got him back on
the court. Did you see that
court.
play when his elbow was like...
Rondo, one of the most courageous plays I've ever seen. He clearly, they needed him in there to win, and he dislocates his elbow. It was the most gruesome sports injury I've seen in a long time, and he goes into the locker room for a few minutes. They bang it back into place. They shoot him up, and he comes back out with a limp left arm. He still gets a dunk. He has a steal with the left arm. He has a dunk with the right, and he plays amazing. Look at this play.
Yeah, this play is just, it's real nasty. Left elbow.
And I think a lot of people think Wade did something wrong. I don't think so. That is nasty.
Your elbow is not supposed to move like that.
Oh, and I don't think that Wade did anything wrong.
No, it wasn't a dirty play.
A lot of people have said that. I don't think it was a dirty play. I think it's just they got tangled up.
Fans that
they got tangled up. They got mixed up.
It happens.
But I'll tell you,
this freak accident.
This guy comes back, and one of the gutsiest performances. And you know what? I believe he will be on the court.
I believe he'll be on the court and they'll win tonight and even up that series 2-2. And then you got the Memphis Grizzlies and Oklahoma City Thunder out in the West. And I know you've been high on the Grizzlies since they won that first round matchup. So how do you feel? Oklahoma City, you think Kevin Durant's been carrying them? I told you about Westbrook. And so how do you feel? That game's in Memphis tonight.
They've got this. They've
got the series?
Yeah, they figured out how to shut Durant down. They shut him down. They even the series at 2.
They even the series at 2 tonight. They're already up 2-1. So they go up 3-1?
Oh, no, they go up 3-1. Yes,
they go up 3-1. The game's in Memphis, So, possibility.
Memphis takes the series.
All types of possibilities tonight.
I really am impressed by Rondo, though. I mean, what he did is really phenomenal. And it's hard to imagine any athlete getting back and doing that. And I saw a piece where they revisited some athletes going through adversity. Kurt Schilling with his ankle, and they had Kerry Strug with her ankle as well, and they had some other guys who came back.
Jay Cutler would not have played.
No.
He would not have came back and played.
But a lot of guys play through that kind of thing. I think you've played through that kind of thing, and it's remarkable.
I think most players play through some amount of injuries or some things throughout the career. You look at a guy like Peyton Manning, he's never missed a game.
It's amazing to see that stuff and to see what a warrior this guy is. And I'll be looking forward to seeing Rondo play tonight, even though I think the Heat will win. I'm still looking forward to it.
Here we go.
What about Shaq? I mean, he just basically shows that he's done.
Shaq, we're glad to have you on the court. We love your energy.
Sports Daily, I'm Michael Artsis alongside Darrell, Reid. We'll see you. I guess Artie's telling us to get out of here.
Yeah, it's time to go. See you tomorrow.